Let me paint a picture for you. You check your savings account, and for the first time in maybe your entire adult life, you see a number that doesn't make you want to cry. $5,000. Maybe it took you 8 months. Maybe it took you 2 years. Doesn't matter. The point is, you did it. You finally have a cushion. You finally have breathing room. And that night, you sleep a little better. You stop checking your bank account obsessively. You feel like you've made it to some kind of financial checkpoint. And here's where everything goes wrong. Because that $5,000 sitting in your account, it's not protecting you. It's not setting you up for success. In a lot of ways, it's doing the exact opposite. It's quietly becoming one of the biggest obstacles between you and actual financial freedom. Now, before you click away thinking I've lost my mind, hear me out. I'm not saying saving money is bad. I'm not saying you shouldn't have an emergency fund. What I'm saying is that there's something uniquely dangerous about the $5,000 mark that almost nobody talks about. And if you don't understand why, you're going to get stuck there for years, maybe forever. If you're someone who's been grinding to build savings but feels like you're running on a treadmill that goes nowhere, hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Because today we're going to talk about why $5,000 is the financial comfort zone that destroys wealth, and more importantly, how to break out of it. Here's the thing about $5,000. It's a magic number, not because of anything mathematical, not because of inflation or interest rates or any of that. It's magic because of what it does to your brain. Think about it. When you have $200 in savings, you know you're vulnerable. You feel it. Every unexpected bill is a potential crisis. You're motivated. You're hungry. You're cutting expenses, picking up extra shifts, doing whatever it takes to get that number higher. But something shifts when you cross into 4 figures, and especially when you hit 5,000. Suddenly, your brain goes, okay, we're safe now. The urgency disappears. The hustle slows down. You start to relax. And I get it. $5,000 feels like a lot of money when you've spent most of your life with way less than that. But here's what most people don't realize. $5,000 is not a safety net. It's a speed bump. And when you treat a speed bump like a finish line, you stop moving. Let me give you some numbers that should genuinely scare you. According to a 2023 Bankrate survey, the average cost of an emergency in America is around $1,400. Okay, so $5,000 covers that, right? You're good. Except that same data shows that 40% of Americans couldn't cover a $400 emergency without going into debt. So when you have $5,000, you feel rich by comparison. You feel like you've won. But let's talk about real emergencies. Not your car needing new brakes. Not a surprise medical bill for a few $100. I'm talking about losing your job. The average length of unemployment in the United States is around 22 weeks. That's over 5 months. If your monthly expenses are even a modest $3,000, which is pretty low for most people, you'd need $15,000 minimum just to survive a job loss without going into debt. $5,000 gives you about 6 weeks. 6 weeks before you're back to zero. 6 weeks before you're putting groceries on a credit card. 6 weeks before that safety net completely disappears. So here's the first problem with $5,000. It feels like security, but it's actually just delayed panic. Now you might be thinking, okay, Nick, I hear you, but at least I have something. At least I'm not starting from zero. And you're right. Having $5,000 saved is infinitely better than having nothing. I'm not discounting that. But here's where the psychology gets really dangerous. There's a concept in behavioral economics called the arrival fallacy. It's the idea that we think we'll be happy and satisfied once we reach a certain goal, but when we get there, the satisfaction fades almost immediately. We adapt. The goal that once seemed huge now feels normal. And instead of setting a new, bigger goal, we coast. This is exactly what happens at $5,000. You worked so hard to get there that when you finally arrive, your brain wants a break. It wants to enjoy the accomplishment. So you stop making financial progress a priority. You start spending a little more freely. You justify purchases you wouldn't have made 6 months ago. I have savings now. I can afford this. And before you know it, you've been sitting at $5,000 for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Not because you couldn't save more, but because you lost the drive to. This is where it gets interesting. I want you to think about wealth building like pushing a boulder up a hill. The first $5,000 is the steepest part. You're pushing with everything you have just to get momentum. But here's the thing about boulders. Once you get them rolling, they're easier to keep moving. The energy required to go from 5,000 to 20,000 is not 4 times harder than going from 0 to 5,000. In many ways, it's actually easier. Because by that point, you've built habits, you've built systems, you've proven to yourself that you can do it. But if you stop pushing at 5,000, the boulder doesn't just stay in place, it starts rolling backward. Lifestyle inflation kicks in, small expenses creep up. That savings account that took you a year to build gets drained in a month by a string of small purchases that somehow add up to $2,000. I've seen this happen to so many people. They hit 5,000, they feel accomplished, they ease up, and within 18 months, they're back below 1,000, wondering what went wrong. Now look, I want to be clear about something. I'm not trying to make you feel bad if you have $5,000 saved. That's an achievement. Genuinely. What I'm trying to do is show you that 5,000 is a milestone, not a destination. It's a sign that your system works. It's proof that you can save. And that proof should be fuel to go further, not permission to stop. Let me tell you about a guy I'll call Marcus. Marcus reached out to me about a year ago after watching some of my videos. He'd been stuck at around $5,000 in savings for almost 4 years. He made decent money, around $55,000 a year. Not rich, but not struggling either. And he could not figure out why his savings never grew. So I asked him to walk me through his spending over the past year. And here's what we found. Almost every month, something came up that dipped into his savings. A weekend trip with friends. A new phone because his old one was slow. A really good deal on a TV during Black Friday. His car needed tires. His buddy's bachelor party in Vegas. None of these things were irresponsible on their own. But, added together, he was withdrawing from savings almost as fast as he was contributing. He'd save $300 in a month, then spend $400. Save $500, spend $500. His balance fluctuated between $4,200 and $5,800 for 4 straight years. Here's what Marcus didn't understand. He had created a ceiling without realizing it. In his mind, 5,000 was enough. So every time his account crept above that number, he unconsciously gave himself permission to spend the surplus. He wasn't being reckless. He just had an invisible cap on what he believed he deserved to have. And this is one of the most dangerous aspects of the $5,000 trap. It's not always about math, it's about identity. Somewhere along the way, Marcus had internalized the belief that $5,000 was his number. That's what people like him have saved. Going beyond that felt uncomfortable, foreign, almost like he was pretending to be someone he wasn't. This might sound ridiculous if you've never experienced it, but financial psychologists have studied this extensively. It's called a money thermostat. Just like your home thermostat keeps your house at a certain temperature, your money thermostat keeps your finances at a certain level. Too cold and the heat kicks on. Too hot and the AC brings it back down. For Marcus, 5,000 was his set point. Every time he went above it, his spending adjusted to bring him back down. The only way to break this cycle is to consciously raise your thermostat, and that starts with redefining what enough looks like. So let's talk about what you should actually do if you're sitting at or around $5,000 right now. First, you need to separate your emergency fund from your wealth building fund. This is crucial. One of the reasons 5,000 feels like enough is because it's one lump sum sitting in one account. When you look at it, you see $5,000. Safety. But I want you to split that money. Take $3,000 and put it in a high-yield savings account labeled emergency fund. Take the other $2,000 and put it somewhere else. A brokerage account. A separate savings account. I don't care. Label it wealth building or future me fund or whatever motivates you. Now here's the psychological trick. Your emergency fund is done. $3,000 covers most common emergencies. You've achieved that goal. Congratulations. Stop thinking about it. Your new focus is the wealth building fund. And that fund? It's at $2,000. Not $5,000. $2,000. Suddenly you don't feel so accomplished. Suddenly there's work to do. Suddenly that number looks small and incomplete. You've just hacked your own psychology. You've taken the same amount of money and made it feel different by changing how you frame it. Second, automate your savings increase. Here's what most people do. They set up an automatic transfer of, say, $200 a month to savings, and they never change it, ever. $200 a month is what they transferred when they made $40,000 a year, and it's still what they transfer when they make $60,000. You need to commit right now to increasing your automatic savings every single time your income goes up. Got a raise? Increase your savings by half the raise amount. Got a bonus? Put at least 50% in savings before you see it in your checking account. Start a side hustle? Every dollar from that goes to wealth building, not lifestyle. This is how you beat lifestyle inflation. You capture the money before your brain has a chance to spend it. Third, and this one is uncomfortable, you need to visualize what you're actually saving for. $5,000 feels like enough because it's abstract. It's just a number. But what is that number supposed to do for you? Here's an exercise. Sit down and write out every financial goal you have. A house down payment, 6 months of expenses, retirement, a car that doesn't break down every 3 months, your kid's college fund, whatever it is. Now put a dollar amount next to each one. Be honest. A house down payment in most markets is going to be $40,000 to $60,000 minimum. 6 months of expenses might be $20,000. Retirement? If you want to stop working at 65 with a modest lifestyle, you're looking at $1 to $2 million depending on your expenses. Add it all up. Look at that total number. Now look at your $5,000. Does it still feel like enough? I'm not saying this to depress you. I'm saying this because clarity creates urgency. When you understand the actual gap between where you are and where you need to be, $5,000 stops feeling like an accomplishment and starts feeling like a starting point. Fourth, find your next milestone and make it visible. The reason 5,000 became a trap is because it was a goal. You reached it, and there was nothing beyond it pulling you forward. So set a new goal, $10,000. Make it specific. Put a date on it. Write it down somewhere you'll see it every single day. Put it on your bathroom mirror. Make it your phone wallpaper. Whatever works for you. The point is, your brain needs something to chase. Without a target, it gets lazy. With a target, it gets creative. It starts finding ways to cut expenses you didn't even realize you had. It starts noticing opportunities for extra income. It makes saving feel like a game instead of a sacrifice. Fifth, get around people who think bigger than you. This one might be the most important. If everyone in your circle has around 5,000 saved, you're going to feel like that's normal. That's successful. That's what people like you have. But if you start consuming content from people who have 6 figures saved, if you start hanging out with people who think about money differently, your normal shifts, your thermostat rises. What once felt like an achievement starts feeling like a starting point. I'm not saying ditch your friends. I'm saying expand your inputs. Listen to podcasts where people discuss their journey from 5,000 to 50,000. Read books written by people who started where you are and built real wealth. Your environment shapes your beliefs, and your beliefs shape your actions. Here's the truth that nobody wants to hear. $5,000 saved is not financial security. It's the very beginning of financial security. It's proof of concept. It's evidence that you have what it takes to build wealth. But proof of concept doesn't pay the bills when you lose your job. Evidence doesn't cover a medical emergency. Beginnings don't fund retirement. The danger of $5,000 is that it feels like more than it is. It creates comfort where there should be ambition. It creates satisfaction where there should be hunger. And if you let it, it will keep you stuck in the early stages of financial progress for years. But here's the good news. If you've saved $5,000, you've already done the hardest part. You've built the muscle. You've proven the discipline. The only thing standing between you and real financial security is the willingness to keep going. Don't let $5,000 be your ceiling. Let it be your floor. I'll see you in the next one.